The darkness between stars held something that shouldn't exist. Captain Lee Hyun pressed his palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's railing aboard the human research vessel. Pioneer. His eyes tracked the massive object floating, in the void, a crystalline structure that twisted reality around itself like a black hole made of glass. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," came the voice of Communications Officer Park Min-ho. The young man's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his headset. "Same message as before. Just coordinates and a countdown. 7 days now." Hyun nodded, watching the artifact pulse with dark energy. Every few seconds, waves of shadow seemed to ripple outward from its core, swallowing starlight before releasing it again. He'd seen many strange things in his 20 years exploring the galaxy, but nothing like this. Behind him, Dr. Kim Jina was hunched over her research station, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The xenoarchaeologist had been studying the artifact for weeks, ever since the first reports came in. What puzzled everyone was how different species reacted to it. "The Silex probe fleet just vanished," reported Navigator Yoon Yoonji from her station. Her voice was steady despite the grim news. "That's the 5th fleet in 10 days. Not even their quantum shields helped." The Silex were known for their advanced technology and mental abilities. If they couldn't get close to the artifact, what chance did anyone else have? Yet the strange thing was, humans didn't seem affected by whatever was destroying other species. "Ships." "Doctor," Hyun called out. "What have you found?" Gina looked up, pushing a strand of dark hair from her eyes. "Captain, this is fascinating. The energy patterns coming from that thing, they're not random. There's a structure here almost, like..." She paused, pulling up a complex waveform on her screen. "Like brainwaves, human brainwaves during deep sleep." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of life support systems. Hyun walked over to her station, studying the data. The patterns did look familiar, though he couldn't place where he'd seen them before. "Sir," Minho interrupted, "we're getting an emergency broadcast from the Federation Council." The main screen flickered to life, showing the chaos of the council chamber. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting over each other, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of sound. Finally, the ethereal prime's voice cut through the noise. "All vessels are to maintain a minimum distance of 50 light-years from the artifact. Any ship that approaches closer disappears without trace." The screen split to show telemetry data. Ship after ship had vanished. Corvan battle cruisers, ethereal exploration vessels, even the mighty Vanguard. Dreadnoughts. Nothing survived contact with the artifact. "The countdown continues," reported another council member. "Various mathematical models suggest whatever is coming will affect the entire galaxy." Hyun turned to his science officer. "Gina, you said the artifact's energy feels familiar to humans. What do you mean by that?" She took a breath, organizing her thoughts. "When I first saw the readings, I felt calm, not afraid. Actually, it reminded me of something from my childhood. Lying in bed, half asleep, knowing something important was happening but not understanding what." Around the bridge, Hyun noticed his crew nodding. They'd all felt it too, that strange sense of recognition, as if the artifact was somehow calling to them specifically. "Captain," Yoonji spoke up, "we're receiving a direct priority message from Earth Command." Admiral Choi's face appeared on a smaller screen. His expression was grim but determined. "Hyun, you and your team are the only ones close enough to study this thing properly. We need to know what it is and why humans seem immune to its effects." "Immune?" Hyun raised an eyebrow. 3 probe missions have been launched by human vessels," Choi explained. "All returned safely with detailed scans. Meanwhile, every other species loses ships just trying to get close." The bridge crew exchanged glances. They'd known they were special, but this put a different perspective on things. "Sir," Gina interjected, "I've been analyzing the artifact's broadcast, the coordinates it's sending. They're in a system that was marked as forbidden in the ancient star charts we recovered last year." Hyun frowned. Those charts had been found on a dead world, carved into stone by a species that had vanished millions of years ago. Forbidden by whom? Unknown, Gina replied. But the warning was clear. Those who sleep must not be awakened. The countdown on the main screen changed. 6 days, 23 hours, 15 minutes. Set course for Earth, Hyun decided, but maintain our distance from the artifact. We need to report this, but I want continuous scans. Something's calling to us specifically, and I intend to find out what. As the Pioneer turned toward home, the artifact pulsed once more. For just a moment, every human aboard felt a whisper in their mind. Not words, but a sense of ancient purpose stirring. Something was waking up after eons of sleep, and humanity was about to discover their true destiny among the stars. The other species fled in fear, but humans felt only curiosity. In the days to come, that difference would change everything. The Federation Council chamber looked like a zoo during feeding time. Representatives from 50 different species argued, shouted, and made threatening gestures at each other. The air buzzed with translation devices struggling to convert alien languages into something coherent. At the human table, Commander Nam Ji-hoon sat calmly, watching the chaos unfold. His weathered hands were folded on the metal table, and his dark eyes showed no fear, only determination. "This artifact is an abomination," shouted the Corvan War Minister, his scarred face twisted in anger. "It destroys everything that approaches." The ethereal representative floated above its chair, its ghostly form flickering with anxiety. "Our psychics report overwhelming terror when they attempt to touch its mind. Pure ancient fear that drives them mad. 6 civilizations have lost entire fleets," added the Silex Queen, her crystalline body pulsing with worried energy. Yet, these humans claim they feel nothing. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Admiral Choi Sung-jae stood slowly, his uniform crisp despite the long journey to the council station. "We volunteer to investigate the coordinates the artifact is broadcasting," he said simply. The chamber exploded into chaos again. Species that had been arguing with each other suddenly united in horror at this suggestion. Madness. The Corvan Minister slammed his fist on the table. "You'll trigger whatever apocalypse this thing has planned," the ethereal's voice echoed strangely. "Perhaps the humans' lack of fear proves they are connected to this threat. Maybe they are part of the trap." Ji-hoon stood beside the admiral. "With respect, we're not asking for permission. The coordinates lead to unclaimed space. We have every right to explore." A week later, the human exploration ship Horizon hung in space outside Earth's orbital shipyards. Unlike the sleek designs of other species, human ships looked like they meant business. Angular, practical, built to last. Captain Seo Dae-hoon walked through the corridors, checking on preparations. Behind him trailed Dr. Kim Jina, the xenoarchaeologist who had made the initial discoveries about the artifact. "The crew seems different," Gina observed, watching a group of technicians work. "How so?" SEO asked, pausing to inspect a weapons console. "Last night, Specialist O asked me about dreams he's been having, complex mathematical formulas that he claims to understand, even though he never studied advanced math." They entered the bridge where Navigator Yoon Yoonji was calibrating the star charts. She looked up as they approached. "Captain, I need to report something strange. 3 nights ago, I started designing building plans in my sleep. When I woke up, I had sketched structures that shouldn't be possible." Engineer Ko Junho overheard from his station. "I've been experiencing something similar. My implants are picking up patterns I don't recognize, but somehow they make sense." Dr. Gina frowned. "Has anyone checked the ship's AI systems recently?" "That's just it," Ko replied. "The AI hasn't detected any changes. Whatever's happening is biological, not technological." The ship's communication system crackled to life. "All senior staff to the briefing room," came the announcement. In the briefing room, the core team gathered around a holographic display of local space. The artifact appeared as a dark blot against the stars, still pulsing with its mysterious energy. "Mission parameters are simple," Captain SEO began. "We investigate the coordinates. We document everything. We return with information. And if we encounter whatever destroyed all those other ships? Asked Security Chief Shin Minsu. We adapt, CO replied. That's what humans do. Dr. Gina activated her personal display. I've been analyzing the crew reports. What you're all experiencing, the dreams, the mathematical insights, the architectural visions, they're not random, there's a pattern here. She showed brain scan data. These neural patterns appear during deep sleep in humans, but they're becoming more frequent while we're awake. The closer we get to launch, the stronger they become. You think the artifact is doing this to us? Yunji asked. Not to us, Gina corrected. For us, it's preparing us for something. Specialist O leaned forward. Doctor, what if we're the only species that can handle whatever's waiting at those coordinates? The room fell silent as they considered this possibility. There's something else, Ko said quietly. I've been monitoring ship systems, and our navigation. AI has been plotting courses I didn't program, all toward the same destination. Captain CO studied his team. Each face showed determination mixed with curiosity. No fear, despite the unknown dangers ahead. The other species are evacuating entire sectors, he said. They're preparing for war or exile, but we're going toward the unknown. Because that's who we are, Ji-hoon replied simply. While others run from mysteries, we chase them. The Horizon launched 2 days later. As they cleared Earth's solar system, the crew noticed the changes accelerating. Dreams became more vivid. Technical insights arrived without explanation. Navigation felt instinctive rather than calculated. During the 3rd day of travel, all communication from other Federation species stopped. They were alone in space, heading toward something that terrified every other intelligent race in the galaxy. But the humans weren't terrified. They were excited. 10 hours to the coordinates, Yunji reported. Captain Seo nodded, watching the stars ahead. Whatever's calling to us, we're about to answer. The Horizon sailed on through the darkness, carrying humanity toward a destiny that only they seemed capable of embracing. The dead system held a single planet, but nothing dead should look this alive. From space, the world gleamed with structures that twisted through dimensions, creating buildings that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. This is impossible, whispered Navigator Yunji, staring at her instruments. The gravity readings are showing different values depending on which sensor I use. Captain Seo Daehoon gripped his chair as the Horizon entered orbit. Through the viewports, the crew watched spires reach toward them, bending space itself like rubber. Surface scans are chaotic, reported engineer Ko Junho. The buildings appear to be inside out, upside down, and right side up all at the same time. Dr. Kim Gina pressed her hands against the observation window, fascination overriding caution. The architecture is alive. It's responding to our presence. As they watched, pathways appeared on the planet's surface, leading from empty spaces toward a central structure that sparkled like a crystal mountain. Someone wants us to land, said Security Chief Shin Minsu. His hand rested on his weapon, but his voice held curiosity rather than fear. The landing shuttle touched down on a platform that hadn't existed moments before. As the team stepped out, the ground beneath their feet felt solid, yet they all felt as if they were walking on water. The atmosphere is breathable, Dr. Gina confirmed, removing her helmet. Though how that's possible with the planet's readings, I don't know. Specialist. O activated his bio-interfaces and immediately stumbled. Captain, my systems are going crazy. It's like the whole planet is trying to talk to me at once. Pathways opened before them, walls parting like curtains. The team moved forward, weapons ready but somehow knowing they weren't needed. The walls are made of some kind of crystal, Ko observed, running his hand along the smooth surface. But they're warm like living tissue. They entered a vast chamber where the ceiling disappeared into infinity, and the floor showed no edges. In the center stood something that made the original artifact look simple, a geometric shape that hurt to look at directly. It's a key, Gina breathed. The artifact we found was calling us here to find this. O approached carefully, his implants resonating with the object. I can understand it somehow. It's like it's speaking a language I've always known, but never heard. As he touched the crystal key, the chamber filled with light, and suddenly they weren't alone. Ghostly figures appeared. Tall, graceful beings with features that seemed familiar, yet alien. Architects, Gina whispered, accessing information she couldn't possibly know. They called themselves the Architects. The ghostly figures gestured toward the walls, which became transparent, revealing vast archives of crystalline storage. Knowledge flooded their minds, not invasively, but like water filling empty cups. They transcended physical form billions of years ago, Ko said, his voice filled with wonder. But they left all this behind. Look at this, Yunji called out, pointing to star maps that appeared in the air. Hundreds of points of light marked similar sites throughout the galaxy. They built these halls of knowledge everywhere. But the golden moment of discovery was interrupted by something darker. Shin's tactical sensors detected movement in the outer chambers. "Captain, we have company," he reported. "But they're not like us." Shadows moved at the edge of their vision, forms that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. These weren't ghosts of the Architects, but something else entirely. "Devourers," Gina said, the word coming unbidden. "They destroyed the Architects' physical forms. They've been waiting for someone to unlock these sites." The team formed a defensive circle, but the shadow creatures didn't attack. Instead, they watched as if evaluating the newcomers. "They're not here for us," O realized. "They're here for this." He gestured to the crystal key. Captain Seo stepped forward. "What do they want?" "Power," came a voice that seemed to speak inside their heads. One of the shadow forms coalesced into something almost recognizable, humanoid but wrong, like a person-shaped hole in reality. "You have found the Architect's gift," it continued. "But you do not understand the cost." Gina's mind raced with inherited knowledge. The Architects gained ultimate power but used it selfishly. These devourers were once like them. They chose to consume instead of create. "And now you will choose," the shadow being hissed. "Join us in the feast, or become the next course." But as the threat hung in the air, something unexpected happened. The crystal key pulsed, and the team felt a connection not just to the Architect's knowledge but to something deeper. "We're not here to take," Captain Seo said firmly. "We're here to learn." Ko stepped forward, his implants now fully synchronized with the Architect systems. "The real test isn't whether we can use this power. It's what we choose to do with it." The chamber filled with new light as the team made their decision. Instead of claiming the knowledge for humanity alone, they began transmitting it back to the horizon and from there to every human ship in the galaxy. "You share the gift?" The shadow being's voice held something like surprise. "That's what humans do," Dr. Gina replied. "We share our discoveries." The devourers retreated, but their warning echoed through the chamber. Others will come. Others will choose differently. As the team gathered the Architect knowledge, they realized they hadn't just inherited technology, they'd inherited responsibility. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would stand at the center of that transformation. The question wasn't whether they could handle the power, but whether they could help others handle it too. The first Devourer fleet emerged from dark space like a cancer growing in reality. Unlike normal ships that traveled through hyperspace, these vessels simply tore holes in existence and crawled through. Lieutenant General Im Young-shik watched from the command center on Mars as sensor readings showed impossible geometries. The Devourers didn't follow the laws of physics that governed every other known species. "Sir, the Corvin 7th Fleet is engaging," reported Communications Officer Li Jin. "Their dreadnoughts are opening fire with plasma cannons." On the main screen, the battle was brief and terrifying. The Corvin ships fired massive energy beams that should have vaporized anything in their path. Instead, the beams seemed to bend around the Devourer vessels before being absorbed entirely. "My God," whispered Tactical Officer Park Minna. "The enemy ships are getting stronger from the attacks." The Corvin fleet tried to retreat, but the Devourers moved in ways that hurt to watch. They folded space around themselves, appearing behind the fleeing ships without traveling the distance between. "All Corvin vessels lost," Jin reported quietly. "Total time of engagement, 4 minutes." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. as humanity's architect sites became active. The Silex quantum networks collapsed when devourers touched them. The ethereal pocket dimensions crumbled like paper when these reality eaters found them. Dr. Kim Gina worked frantically in her lab, aboard the research station orbiting the first architect world. Her hands moved across holographic displays, analyzing data streams from dozens of activated sites. "The pattern is clear," she told Captain Seo Daehoon over the communication link. "Every site we've studied, every piece of architect technology, we've activated. They're all beacons now." Beacons for what exactly? For them. The devourers feed on advanced civilizations. The more technology we unlock, the stronger the signal becomes. Engineer Ko Junho stood beside her, his bio-implants now permanently integrated with architect systems. He moved differently now, his actions flowing with an efficiency that seemed almost inhuman. "Captain, I've discovered something disturbing," Ko said. "These devourers weren't always like this. According to the architect records, they were once a species much like us." The revelation hit the team like cold water. Dr. Gina pulled up ancient records, translating them through her growing connection to the architect database. "They found power beyond imagination and used it only for themselves," she read. "They became parasites feeding on the achievements of others rather than creating their own." "Is that our future?" asked Navigator Yoon Yoonji, her voice small. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Security Chief Shin Minsu's voice cut through the noise. "Contact! Multiple Devourer scouts approaching our perimeter." The creatures came not in ships, but as living shadows that twisted through space itself. They probed the station's defenses, testing barriers that shouldn't have been able to stop them. Why aren't they attacking? SEO wondered aloud. Specialist. Oh, now deeply connected to the architect network, provided the answer. "They're curious. We're doing something they don't expect." "What's that?" "We're not hoarding the power, we're sharing it." It was true. From the beginning, humanity had been transmitting their discoveries to other species. The Federation Council, initially resistant, now coordinated desperate efforts to understand the architect technology. But the other races struggled with what humans seemed to grasp intuitively. The Corvin tried to weaponize everything, turning star maps into targeting systems. The Silex attempted to improve the technology, adding their own quantum enhancements that only made things worse. "They're thinking about it wrong," Dr. Gina realized. "The architect technology isn't meant to be owned or improved, it's meant to be understood and shared." A communication came in from Earth Command. Admiral Choi Sung-jae appeared on their screens, his background showing the frantic activity of military preparations. "All human ships are to maintain communication with architect sites," he ordered. "We're seeing something unprecedented. Every time we share information freely with other species, the devourer attacks lose intensity." Ko nodded, his enhanced understanding providing clarity. "The devourers expect us to become like them, selfish, hoarding power. When we do the opposite, it confuses them." "But for how long?" Shin asked grimly. "Their main fleet is still out there." As if summoned by his words, new alerts flooded their systems. The true Devourer armada was emerging from the dark between galaxies, their forms so vast they displaced star systems simply by existing. Captain Seo looked at his team, humans who had been transformed by their contact with architect technology, but who remained fundamentally human in their approach to power. "We need every species working together," he decided. "Not just sharing information, but thinking as one. Can we manage that before the main fleet arrives?" Through his connection to the architect network, Ko felt something stirring, patterns forming across the galaxy as human sites synchronized with each other, and with the alien species brave enough to join the network. "I think the real test is just beginning, Captain." Outside, the Devourer scouts retreated, but their message was clear. The children had played with fire long enough. Now the adults were coming, and they were hungry. The main Devourer fleet arrived like a spreading disease across space. Unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, these weren't ships, but living incarnations of hunger itself. They moved between stars, unmaking reality as they passed. Admiral Choi Sung-jae stood in Earth's command center, watching sensor data that shouldn't exist. The Devourers were rewriting the laws of physics wherever they traveled, turning ordered space into chaos. "Sir, we're losing contact with outer colonies," reported Captain Han Sora. "Not destroyed, they're simply ceasing to exist." Through the Architect network, humanity felt the approaching darkness. Every activated site transmitted the same message. Time was running out. Dr. Kim Jina worked with teams across dozens of worlds. Her consciousness spread through the crystalline networks that connected all Architect sites. In this state, she could feel every human ship, every allied vessel, every species struggling to understand. The answer isn't fighting them, she realized, her voice echoing through the network. The Architects left us more than technology. They left us a choice. Captain Seo De-hoon commanded the human fleet from aboard the Horizon, now enhanced with Architect modifications. Around him, ships from every species in the galaxy gathered in desperate coordination. "Status report," he requested. Engineer Ko, Hunho, his form now more energy than flesh, responded from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The network is growing, Captain. But the other species are having trouble. They're fighting the connection instead of embracing it." The Corvin Admiral. Takwara's voice crackled through comms, anger masking his fear. "Our ships cannot sink. This human technology refuses our commands." "That's because you're trying to dominate it," replied Navigator Yoon Yoonji gently. "You need to cooperate with it." The Ethereal Prime's ethereal voice added confusion. "Our dimensions are collapsing. The Devourers consume even our abstract realms." Specialist O, now existing in multiple states simultaneously, made a crucial discovery. "Captain, I know what the Architects were trying to tell us. The Devourers were once like us, explorers, builders, creators. But they chose to consume instead of share." The revelation rippled through the network. As Devourer forces pressed closer, consuming star systems like candy, the Allied fleets struggled to coordinate their response. "We need complete unity," Captain Aseo announced. "Every species, every ship, every individual consciousness linked as one." "Impossible," the Silex Queen protested. "Our quantum minds cannot merge with primitive biological thinking." But humanity had learned something from the Architects. Unity didn't mean uniformity. Each species could remain unique while contributing to something greater. Dr. Gina felt the moment of breakthrough approaching. "Don't fight it. Let each species do what they do best, but within the shared network." The transformation began slowly, then accelerated. Corvin military algorithms merged with human intuition. Silex quantum processing, enhanced ethereal dimensional mathematics. Human creativity bound it all together. Through this unified consciousness, they finally understood the Devourer's true nature. "They're afraid," Ko announced with surprise. "The Devourers are terrified of being alone again." The main Devourer fleet paused at the galaxy's edge as they sensed something unprecedented. Not the usual scattered resistance they were accustomed to consuming, but a single, unified response. The Devourer Prime manifested before the Allied fleet, its form a living negation of existence. When it spoke, reality trembled. "You think unity will save you? We have consumed 1,000 civilizations that believed the same." Captain Seo, speaking for all humanity and their allies, replied, with quiet confidence, "We're not trying to save ourselves, we're offering you something different." Before the Devourer could respond, the network activated in a way none of them expected. Instead of attacking, the Allied fleet began broadcasting everything, every piece of Architect knowledge, every discovery, every moment of wonder and creation they had found. "What is this?" The Devourer Prime recoiled. "Sharing," Dr. Gina replied simply. "The answer the Architects left for us. Power isn't meant to be hoarded or consumed, it's meant to be given freely." The broadcast reached every Devourer vessel, carrying not weapons or defenses, but pure knowledge and the joy of discovery. For eons, they had only known hunger and consumption. Now they experienced something else, the satisfaction of creation. "You offer your power freely?" The Devourer Prime's voice held something like wonder. "We offer the chance to build instead of destroy," Admiral Choi answered from Earth. "To create instead of consume." The galaxy held its breath as the Devourers considered this unprecedented offer. Then, slowly, something miraculous happened. The darkness began to recede from the lead vessels, revealing the shadowy forms of the beings they had once been. We had forgotten," whispered the Devourer Prime, its form becoming more solid, more real, forgotten the joy of making something new. The transformation wasn't instant or complete. Many Devourers chose to retreat to the dark spaces between galaxies, unable to abandon their hunger. But others stayed, tentatively joining the network, remembering what they had lost. Months later, Dr. Kim Gina stood in the rebuilt architect site, now a symbol of galactic cooperation. Around her, beings from dozens of species worked together, humans leading not through conquest but through example. "The galaxy is different now," she observed to Captain Seo. "Because we chose differently," he replied. "When faced with ultimate power, we shared it. When confronted with ultimate destruction, we offered creation." The architects had left one final message in their deepest archives. "The greatest civilizations are those that grow stronger by making others strong." Humanity had answered the call that others couldn't, not because they were superior, but because they understood that true strength came from lifting others up, not tearing them down. As the galaxy entered a new age of cooperation and shared knowledge, the original artifact between galaxies pulsed one final time and went dark, its purpose finally fulfilled. The test was complete. The inheritors had been chosen, and the answer was, and always had been, together.